Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around, we started Colony in Space. What was that one about?
Well, the Doctor is literally sent by the Time Lords to some planet. We're not sure. I'm guessing it's in the future. I think they may have said that. But rather than the pretty standard format that we've had before, this time, instead of diametrically opposed, we got like a triangle here. We got the settlers, who they meet first, who seem to be being threatened by some kind of horrible monster. But it turns out that the horrible monster is actually something that has been being set up by the mining company who's trying to get rid of the settlers because there's some molybdenum, like I always go back to molybdenum, that they're trying to get there. But as it turns out, there are also apparently some indigenous people on the planet, some primitives, who we've only vaguely seen. And didn't they steal the TARDIS?
Yes, they've stolen the TARDIS and Joe at the end.
Okay. So we've got all three of these things going, and the Doctor's simply trying to figure out, first of all, how to get the TARDIS and Joe back. And then we speculated that they're waiting for this adjudicator, this big judge who's supposed to come in and settle everybody's hash. And I think you and I both at the end thought, wait a minute, they've been going with the Master this entire season, so this is the only guy we haven't met through the first 3 episodes, and maybe it's the Master.
Yeah, because they mentioned the Master at the beginning. That's why they sent the Doctor here.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
The Master he stole some sort of doomsday machine from Gallifrey, and so the Time Lords have sent the Doctor to go recover it, although they didn't say that to him. They've just sort of sent him there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The more I think about it, I think this is the plot of Dune. So yeah, if you wanted to see Dune in the 70s, although didn't they make a Dune movie in the 80s or something?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I never saw it, but I understand it was very dull and dreary.
Yeah.
They tried to do too much in a very short space of time.
Yeah, and I hear it's quite the opposite for the new movie. So, but anyway, if you want to see Dune in the 70s with no budget, then look no further than Colony in Space. So, we'll be doing the next 3 episodes today, and I think after this we have a 5-parter to round out the season. So
the demons, looks like.
The demons, maybe, I think there's an A in there somewhere.
I think it's still pronounced demons.
Huh.
We always think it's daemons, but I think it's pronounced demons.
Huh.
Because in this instance, a demon is not, like the horrible, satanic sort of thing. A demon is like a minor functionary. That's why, if I recall correctly, I learned this when we started doing emails, and there's this thing called the mailer demon, which is basically a low-level program that says, oh, I'm sorry, we couldn't deliver your email because the address was wrong, and it simply sends it back to you. So, who knows? Maybe.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure this is way before emails.
I mean, yeah, so... well, we'll figure it out when we get to it.
Do you remember Pain and Panic in the Disney Hercules movie?
Vaguely.
Yeah, the 2 little guys who are trying to do Hades' work for him, but they always botch it. I think those are supposed to be the original kind of demons.
Okay, then. Well, we will figure it out when we get to that next week. So, you got anything else?
I got nothing.
Then we might as well hop right back into Colony in Space. Here we go.
It must be the adjudicator.
He took a jet.
It's a nice model, but it wobbled a little too much.
Yeah.
I mean, this is nice.
There was no need for anyone to be killed.
Shut up, Goldberg.
Well, Captain Dent, I wonder how this will look to the adjudicator.
I love how plain that was. Just shut up, Caldwell.
Well, not exactly, sir.
Surely you were advised of my arrival.
That's the Master, definitely.
Not entirely primitive.
It is. City's not half bad.
What's the
I mean,
point in bringing over the prisoners?
I was not
We'll
expecting
bring the
that.
evidence. That should be enough for the...
A great honor to meet you, Adjudicator. I am Robert Ash, and this is my daughter Mary. We've done the best we can. The rest will be here shortly.
That outfit, though. That's incredible.
Buildings, cities, machines.
It's like the Bayeux
You
Tapestry.
invented flight.
What happened here?
Sandworms.
Ruins, people lying dead.
Graboids.
Some great catastrophe, I should think. After that, everything changes.
It also
Doesn't
reads
it?
from right to
Different
left,
style of
which is
design.
very ancient.
Looks like some sort of sacrifice.
Again, and I haven't read the book or seen any movies. I think this is the plot of Dune.
Time mechanism.
Right, I will now hear the statement from IMC. Captain Dent.
I love when he takes his job seriously. It's kind of weird, honestly. Ooh! I thought they were just gonna get him out in the hall. That was a long process to knock a guy out.
Misdirection.
No.
My city is forbidden. All intruders in the city must die. That is the law.
We are both strangers to your planet. The girl was brought here by your warriors as a captive.
It's
All we ask is
incredibly
to be allowed
not
to
her
leave in
fault.
peace.
If you ever return, you will be destroyed.
Thank you, sir. May I say that I'm overjoyed to find that justice prevails in your city.
duly noted. Anyway, I guess we ought to get back to the plot now.
It will therefore be my duty to judge this case upon its merits.
It's the master.
Well, this is awkward.
My credentials are immaculate.
Forged, of course.
Of course, but immaculate.
According to interplanetary law, we can appeal.
What good will that do? By the time it's all decided, this planet will be gutted.
See, I've done enough copyright disputes to know you never want to appeal afterwards. Just sort of take it and move on.
What the devil are you up to?
There can only be one guy with a beard and curly hair.
Look out! It's a trap!
Good shot.
These guys are out in the open. How are they not hitting them?
Yeah. There's one.
I mean, they're firing down from up above.
Yeah.
It's always the innocent bystander who suffers eventually.
What's that supposed to mean?
I'm afraid you are both about to become the victims of stray bullets.
Alrighty.
Well, that seemed to go very fast.
Yep. Okay. So, first off, we called it. So, hope somebody picked up the phone because we definitely called it. And okay, so, in the moment I said, okay, this whole civilization stuff, this is great, but it's like, okay, well, if we were brought here for some reason, now we have to leave, and it's like, okay, clearly this is going to be part of the plot for some reason, but I'm not seeing it yet. But clearly it must be whatever, he needs something from the city, specifically. So it's always just very interesting when he sort of blends into his job. Like, he plays it so well, He can play just a normal guy. You wouldn't even suspect him of being all evil and such, So I did like that.
And they showed the reactor or something where they were going to sacrifice them. Does that not seem like that could be the object that the Master's trying to get?
Yeah, it could be. If it's like a remnant of their, advanced civilization, maybe it's advanced enough. Maybe it's more advanced than anything Earth has.
Yeah, maybe that's what caused the civilization to decline.
Yeah. And so,
it's kind of interesting where the Doctor speculates you've got 3 different humanoid-type creatures, and he's wondering if they're all mutations of the same original race.
Yeah. So
saying that leads me to believe that that's going to play in here somehow.
Right.
Tell your men to surrender. Tell them! Drop your guns!
It's interesting they don't just pick them off while their guns are gone.
Keep them on guard.
Unless you want Earth to send a space fleet to wipe you out, you need someone to adjudicate for you.
Then you are willing to help us?
Yes,
I don't know why I like that word, adjudicate. We don't have that over here.
Does anybody know who he is? Where he came from? Has he in fact given a proper account of himself? Exactly. Well, now, gentlemen, I think
This is why he
continue
needs
our
to get the
discussion
psychic paper.
uninterrupted.
In his TARDIS, perhaps?
I didn't see the master's horse box here.
My dear Joe, a TARDIS can change its shape, you know. He changed his to look like the adjudicator's spaceship.
Oh
How
yeah,
do we get in?
I didn't even think about the fact that that ship would be his TARDIS.
Right, you're leaving.
Stand quite still.
That's a sonic screwdriver. Straight up this time, not a garage door opener.
That is. Now get very flat on the ground. Right, get quite flat. Right, on your way. That's it. Bring on that.
Parking orbit stabilized.
Did he put the handbrake on?
Message from Earth Control.
Get it, Morgan.
The old teletype.
Come on, guys. Get something a little more advanced. A screen of some sort.
That identification.
What is it?
Filing cabinets.
Classic Time Lord tech.
3, 1. We have contact.
I think that's based on the Moonlanders. We watched that on television. They were talking about how they were coming down, how far they were going sideways, and then dropped straight down. Kicked up all the dust. Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Guards! Oh!
Larry, Moe, and Curly.
Ed, Ed, and Eddie. We can name trios all day.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, the guy's standing in an open doorway. How are they not hitting him?
Well,
You want your leader alive? Drop your guns!
they really just pulled the exact same thing they pulled last episode. Boy, his TARDIS is roomy.
However, the sentence will be suspended on condition that you and your followers depart this planet immediately.
But that's impossible.
The alternative is execution.
You don't understand.
Ooh,
That spaceship
mercy.
was old when we bought it. It won't survive another trip.
The trial is now concluded.
If you send us up in that spaceship, you're condemning all of us to death.
You will make preparations for liftoff immediately.
Oh, so it's like The Dark Knight Rises. Death by exile.
Jawa, sand creature.
Yeah, definitely.
Now that's going to be in the thumbnail.
Yeah, definitely. Where they had to repeat that like 8 times.
Look out!
Yikes!
Oh, there goes the car.
Ash is right, it's in pretty bad shape. There's a fair chance it may blow up on the ground.
Make sure all IMC personnel are clear of the area before takeoff, will you?
Is he going to be like Fushman?
No.
Try to sacrifice himself to save everyone else?
You always remember the most specific things in this show.
No good. Nothing seems to shift it.
Well, we'll have to use explosives then.
What's this then? A key?
Just leave it under the mat.
In the sawdust?
Meh.
Wait a minute.
I mean, do you not find it the least bit weird that there's a key on the outside of a spaceship? Like a lock?
Someone's trying to rescue Miss Grant.
No, you can't.
I warned you, Doctor.
No!
Oh man, what a cliffhanger. Alrighty. You know, it's almost comical how much back and forth there is between who has power, between the colonists and IMC. You know, everyone is smug, everyone is not smug. Everyone's getting shot except nobody's getting shot.
That is what I don't understand. They're literally, less than 20 feet away with automatic weapons. Nobody's really behind anything. How did nobody get hit?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not like they're behind vibranium or something. They're behind wooden crates and a door frame.
And two of the guys were literally standing up in the door. You know, you and I, who've literally never picked up guns in our lives, could have shot those guys.
Yeah, so...
They're like Star Wars stormtroopers.
Yeah. I was going to make some sort of a joke about, like, oh, well, I've played video games. Like, I don't know how many shooters I've played in my life, actually. Yeah. I don't really play, like, Call of Duty or anything, so... and if I play a first-person game, it's like Skyrim or something, so...
I don't even know what that is. I mean, I've heard the name.
Yeah.
And in fact... I think my friend Richard Epcard does one of the voices in Skyrim.
Maybe.
It's entirely possible. He's done everything else.
Yeah. He's on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah. And isn't he Bobobo?
Yes. Yes, he is.
And he's one of the guys in Lupin the Third.
I haven't seen that.
And he's Raiden Raiden, God of Thunder in something.
Mortal Kombat, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And he's the Joker in Injustice: Gods Among Us. So, I know a lot of famous people. I'm semi-famous myself.
Well, that's what he says, so...
Well, you've seen some of the stuff.
Nah.
Unless the cliffhanger is the primitives have followed him there and they're going to smack it out of his hand.
Maybe they'll cut his finger off so he can't hit it.
Seems to be the most logical way, because the doctor can't do anything because, he would ultimately press it before the doctor could react.
Well.
What's that bleeping noise?
Or they get her out of there.
Beeping or bleeping? Last episode it was bleeping.
Warned you, Doctor.
Oh! Why haven't you been doing this before?
I knew it already. The files of the Time Lords are very comprehensive.
Yes, that's more like it. You mean that you stole the information?
Well, it seemed an awful pity not to make use of it, you know. But of course, that's typical of the High Council of the Time Lords. Know everything, do nothing.
Tell me, why are you so interested in the history of this planet?
Well, this super race developed a doomsday weapon.
So they developed a doomsday weapon. But I guess he just stole the files. Oh.
That must have been fun. I
Yeah.
bet that's very cold.
Yeah. I mean, you could see the breath roll a while ago.
Yeah. Put him face down in it, drown him.
Oof. Ah. This is such a mess. I bet they didn't plan this. But once they saw it, it's like, okay, we're having a fight scene in this water. Oh!
There we go.
Up! Oh!
Oh, hit his head on the rock.
He's a colonist spaceship. It made it.
Oh.
Why don't you come in with me? We're both Time Lords. We're both renegades. We could be masters of the galaxy. Power for good. Why, you could reign benevolently. You could end war, suffering, disease. We could save the universe.
No. Absolute power is evil.
Consider carefully, Doctor.
I want to see the universe, not rule it.
Then I'm very sorry, Doctor.
Portable radio there.
Has this weapon of yours ever brought good to your planet?
Once the weapon was built, our race began to decay. The radiation from the weapon's power source poisoned the soil of our planet.
Exactly.
Okay,
The
that's
weapon has
what
only
it was.
brought death. Not only does justice prevail on your planet, sir.
They're just gonna sacrifice themselves.
Yikes.
Get up. All of you, get up.
Oh, so nice of you to join us.
Caldwell, come over here. If we didn't need you, you'd be over with them.
You're insane.
Drop those guns.
Oh! Did they all make it out, or was it just they
Launched the ship apparently without them in it.
The master! He's gone!
He's a very slippery fellow.
Now, where's the TARDIS?
Where is the TARDIS? I hope it wasn't in there.
He must must have known.
The rocket had to take off.
It's the only way we could get IMC out of the way.
Ash insisted on staying on board. Yes. Yes, he would, of course.
Doctor, there's something here for you.
Ah, they found it.
Well, for a start, I can help you with your power.
What the?
Nuh.
Doctor, come back at once.
Oh, wow. They even got the timing right.
You'll never get that thing working properly. Oh, you were right about that report, I'm afraid. It wasn't the master after all.
He's talking as if we'd never been away.
As far as he's concerned, we haven't. The TARDIS returned to Earth just a few seconds after it left.
What are you two talking about?
Don't try and explain, Joe.
Tuh.
You'd never understand.
All right.
Do you think he ever explains? Well, by the time they do, not Peladon. What's
the three doctors? I think that's the first time he goes inside the TARDIS. So, I think it just takes him that long. So, and I don't know if after that, if he ever actually goes to an alien planet with them. Yeah. So, man, once I went back there, it's like, oh yeah, the Brigadier. I kind of forgot about him and Unit and everything. We just sort of slipped right back into a classic Doctor Who story.
Now, with all of the great special effects that they're doing, why are they suddenly just popping the TARDISes in and out rather than letting them fade in and out like they used to?
I don't know. That does seem very strange. Like, I can't imagine why it would be that specific, Yeah. Because you're right. They did used to do it. I don't think it's like a different production team or anything. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know why they don't do that. Yeah. So,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's so out of tradition of what they've been doing.
Yeah. So unless maybe it's like it actually is a weirdly difficult thing. I don't know. Alrighty. Well, that was Colony in Space.
Very enjoyable.
Yeah.
6 parts. I didn't really think there was any padding. Like you said, it does go back and forth like a yo-yo. IMC's in charge. The miners are the colonists are in charge, and back and forth.
Yeah.
Again, our literally only complaint about it is how do they shoot in that close a range to each other and only end up hitting 1 or 2 people?
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, it does work also too, because it's not just the colonists and IMC and stuff, but then also bringing in the primitive species and having a full backstory for them, then leading into the Doomsday weapon, and of course all of this is predicated on the Master being here. So
now, one last thing though about the Doomsday weapon. We had assumed that it was something relatively small, again, that the Master was going to steal, but was he just here to say, I am now in control of it, and because I can, like, what is it, the Death Star or the Star Killer, I can send it, across the galaxy to do that?
Yeah.
Because it seems to be the entire complex is part of it,
yeah.
And it's so large that it has essentially poisoned the fields around there. So again, it's a minor thing. Overall, enjoyed the whole thing. And as I mentioned before, the sets and the costumes, I really like the difference between I keep saying the miners, the colonists, who are again in very homespun kind of things, and the very plastic, almost tunic sort of things that the mining corporation was wearing, and I like the different things of the primitive species. The first, frogmen or whatever they were, it seemed a little rushed. I like the brainiac sort of thing, the walking brains. And again, there's an interesting call. We need guys who are under 5 feet tall who will come in and wear a giant brain on their head.
Yeah.
Plus an Elizabethan ruff behind it. And you never get to talk.
Yeah, basically. So, and I guess the other thing with, the size of the Doomsday weapon, I guess it's entirely possible. Maybe the Master would have thought of something to take the actual complex, with his TARDIS or something. Or he was just going to completely take over this planet and then use it.
Yeah. But he never seemed to be in a rush to get rid of the colonists. And then even if he had gotten rid of the colonists, he'd have to get rid of the miners too.
Yeah. Which I'm honestly surprised he didn't hypnotize them. Like he could have easily done that, especially probably at the end he could have done that, unless those helmets block the thing. It's like Magneto's helmet for Xavier. So I don't know.
The helmets seem to block bullets.
Yeah, I guess. Well, maybe that's it. That they were aiming for the head, but it just kept bouncing off. So,
but overall, very enjoyable.
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
Definitely. All right, so the first thing that I wrote down was the ransom of you having to buy back Joe, which again, like, I understand that bringing Joe and the Doctor to the primitive city establishes the whole thing of, well, they don't want anyone to be there. It's forbidden and stuff like that. But what was the purpose of the primitives bringing Joe to the city then?
Well, was it Ash? Somebody said they do this occasionally. They simply take somebody there, and then we pay the ransom and food. So maybe that was just it. That they weren't really engaged in the whole miners versus the colonists problem. They grabbed a random person and said, give us cheeseburgers and you get your girl back.
Yeah. So, and I guess it could just be that they didn't intend for Joe to be like brought before the high priest or whoever that was. So I guess it could just be that it escalated until eventually, so they came out and was like, oh, you're forbidden from being here. And it's like, well, we were brought here specifically.
Minor technical thing here. Roll the credits, because the leader's voice sounded like a woman. And I wanted to see if that's... Lethbridge Stewart, it gets... even though he was like 2 seconds in this, he gets billing over Joe. Ash was very good, by the way. I really enjoyed him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because that voice didn't sound, very deeply masculine, and it again sounded almost feminine to me, which would have been kind of an interesting thing to have the leader of the planet actually being a woman.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I suppose you could also chalk it up to perhaps this is a race without gender, really. So it could be something like that. I mean, we didn't have anything specific from like the primitives and stuff. So, well, the next thing I wrote down is the adjudicator, which, yes, we were right, was the master. And I love too because he obviously didn't expect the Doctor and Joe to be there. So he does go into it with the thought that he is going to legitimately, oversee this, even if he, was thinking, well, I'll get rid of the colonists and then, eventually I'll get rid of IMC, but deal with them first. But honestly, it was just interesting just watching him actually kind of getting into it and, actually presiding over this, hearing and stuff. And they had evidence of, like, they had the claws and the projector that projects the lizards and stuff. But then in another, in this tug of war between who's in control, they got back control, destroyed the evidence, and then they went to the adjudicator. So,
and just this past week or so, in my Oklahoma history classes, I was talking about the Civil War, and the Civil War in Indian Territory between 1862 and 1863. It was just like that. The main center of the war in Oklahoma Territory, or in Indian Territory, was Fort Gibson, and the Confederates had come in and taken it, and then the Union chased them out, but then the Union had to abandon it, and the Confederates retook it, and then the Confederates abandoned it, and the Union retook it, and so it's just, that reminded me of this. So that's a very, an actual sort of thing that, sometimes your objective is, I've got it, but I can't hold on to it, so I'm going to skedaddle. And then the other guy comes in and goes, I've got it now. Oh, but they're preparing a counterattack, and I don't have enough men to defend it, so let's get out. So, yeah, I like the back and forth on that. That's very realistic.
Yeah, so... we had the history of the primitives, that they were a very advanced species, and then once they built this ultimate doomsday weapon, it pretty much destroyed their society.
Yeah. And they never actually said why they built it in the first place. Why does anyone need a doomsday weapon other than, for example, like in Dr. Strangelove, you build the weapon to prevent anybody from ever starting a war, because the idea is if you start the war, you understand that you will be destroying yourselves, because we have a weapon that will automatically respond and wipe you out. And although they kind of hinted at that in the Bayeux tapestry there, which was kind of cool too, they never did say, there was another species on this planet, or did they say, we grew to, warlike for our own good. And so anyway, but again, that's very minor, because there was so much action and so much other, again, great interplay between the Doctor and the Master that it all really works. Yeah,
and you could tie that into just the nuclear bomb and the atom bomb and stuff like that. It's like, well, that's their version. It's just that they made one that was apparently so good that it was really bad. It could, take over the universe if it wanted to. Which is also interesting, because at first I thought that the Time Lords were saying that, like, the Master took the plans for the Doomsday Machine, but they didn't create this. It's specifically on this planet. He just took the files about the Doomsday weapon. Yeah. So that was interesting, just that he happened to find it in the old Time Lord files, and then when
the old Time Lord file cabinets.
Yeah. I mean, that is the interesting thing, going through, seeing some of this technology, and it's like, okay, I don't know if they still have this technology in 2472, but, and maybe, I mean, the thing with, like, having the filing cabinets in his TARDIS, like, well, the Time Lords are kind of odd, like, the Doctor keeps all sorts of stuff in his TARDIS, so, like, okay, these two are kind of weird, maybe they just like, filing cabinets and stuff like that. But then when it's like, oh yes, we're receiving a message from Earth on our, typewriter that's
teletype.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. And it's like, here it is, and it even has this horrible, like, dot matrix picture of the real adjudicator.
That was cool. But see, that's some of the wonderful quirkiness here that we can look back at 50 years later. That they have an interplanetary spaceship and a metal filing cabinet with paper files in it.
Yeah.
They have, like you said, they have an interplanetary communications device, and then they also have a dot matrix printer.
Yeah, well, even down to, they had a video link. They had this big screen, which they even used to talk to Ash in his spaceship. But then, the teletypewriter, and it's like, why? Like, a monitor or something, like anything, because again, and I know we bring up Star Trek a lot, but it's like, in Star Trek you can get away with just a monitor, but the thing is, they have monitors on this ship, so it's like, it's just strange, like, the consistency of it. Like, there is a lot of stuff on that ship that looks, futuristic, big screens and stuff, and then just like, well, now we have this with a, just a one step away from, they sent a fax over to the spaceship. So,
but again, like I mentioned before, I also like the fact that they incorporated what we knew about the lunar module landing on the moon, where you could see it drifting down slowly sideways, and then it stops, and then finally sets down, setting up a cloud of dust from it. Again, that's all really, really cutting edge stuff from this time period, because 69 to 73 that we sent 5 or 6 missions up to the moon, so that was all very cool. And then again, we look back and go, they got a teletype.
Yeah, it honestly might have worked if the colonists had that to show how down on their luck they were.
Yeah,
that it's like, they've got this, like, ancient, like, they can talk to Earth, but to what end, So, let's see. They also did the appeal. They were going to do an appeal to the adjudicator, and it really is, when I hear that, because I have to do so many copyright disputes on YouTube, and most of the time they're good, but sometimes they don't work, and it's very difficult. Like, I'm trying to think, like, which ones do I get, like, completely rejected, because sometimes, like, if I put in a dispute, they'll unblock the video anyway, even if they keep the copyright the copyright identification there. So that's all fine and good. But sometimes they keep the copyright claim and then keep it blocked. And then it's like, well, you can appeal. And it's like, okay, well, how do I appeal this? And it's like all this sort of weird stuff. The court gets thrown around. It's like, I'm not taking YouTube to court. And they know I'm not going to take YouTube to court, which is why their copyright system sucks. But yeah, as soon as I hear that, it's like, well, look, we can appeal. It's like, well, if it didn't go right the first time, guys, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're supposed to do, but...
I may have told you that story, too, before. When I was in college, I was taking a playwriting class, one of the very first playwriting classes that I took. And I had decided to do a stage adaptation of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And I had written it up, and I sent a copy of it to, Dr. Seuss's agent, I guess, or whoever. Because this was what the class did. If you were adapting a work, they showed you how to do all of this. And I got a very nice letter from them that said, "Thank you for your submission. However, we just sold the rights to this story to CBS." This is when they were, making the 30-minute little video.
Yeah.
And they said all you have to do is contact CBS and take it from there. And so I contacted CBS and got a very strongly worded letter from their lawyer saying, you will cease and desist immediately. This is now the property of CBS, and we will send the goons after you who will make your kneecaps into ashtrays. And I went, okay, I'll just put that little thing away and never think about it again.
And CBS, that's the ironic thing, because that exactly happened to me when we did Star Trek Picard, where I uploaded it and I put in the dispute and everything, and they kept it blocked completely. And I was like, well, I guess we'll put this over to a highlight reaction, because CBS, because sometimes, okay, pretty much all anime, they never let that stay up. For some reason, I don't know why. Anime studios in Japan, they don't like that. But I sort of get around that, and I just come to expect it now. But it's very rare when a Western company does that. And yeah, CBS, they did not want our Star Trek Picard reactions up. Not that anyone wanted to watch our Star Trek Picard reactions. So
or wanted to watch the actual series. I'm really surprised it got a second season, because weren't the ratings really, really low for that?
Yeah, that was also the interesting thing. And yes, we're now on a tangent, but that was the interesting thing, because I think I was trying to repeat our success with Good Omens, because Good Omens, we had a lot of fun, and we had no problems copyright wise. I don't think, and I will admit, if we're talking numbers here for a second, that was a very successful series.
Yes.
So I was kind of trying to catch lightning in another bottle. And Star Trek Picard, oh my gosh, is maybe one of our worst performing series. Yeah. So,
but I don't think that was anything that we did. I just think people didn't care for the series.
Yeah. Nobody wanted to get CBS All Access for Star Trek Picard. Everyone, either you had Amazon Prime and you can watch Good Omens, or you were like, I'll get Amazon Prime. There's enough benefits to get that with Good Omens.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of Good Omens, eventually, whenever they drop season 2, I don't know when. I don't know if there's a time frame on that or anything. If it's sometime next year.
It must be, because I've already seen one promotional picture, and I think David Tennant's wife sent out a picture of him as Crowley.
Okay, so but
yeah, we will definitely do that.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever. I guess they'll probably release the whole season at once. I think they did that last time. So whenever they do that, expect within the week for the first reaction to go out, because we are not missing a beat on that one. So we're going to stand outside, we're going to hold the bottle, and we're going to wait for that lightning to hit again. So, anywho. But yeah, the appeal, they were hopeful about it. So, and if this was a real adjudicator and not the master, maybe it could have worked with the whole historical significance and stuff. So, I do like how they talk about credentials, though. That the master, he did go through and he got all the credentials he needed and fake them. What did he say? They were
immaculate.
Yeah, they were completely fake and falsified, but immaculate. So,
you would expect nothing less.
Yeah, but I like how he points out, the doctor doesn't have any credentials, so that makes him all the less trustworthy to everyone else. So, let's see. We did get to go inside the Master's TARDIS, which I don't know if we've ever actually seen the inside of his TARDIS.
No, because the last time the Master went into the Doctor's TARDIS, didn't he?
Yeah, so I don't think we've really seen the inside. It was interesting, too, just, when it's like, oh, he came in on this spaceship. I don't know why I didn't put it together that was his TARDIS,
Yeah.
Probably because it flew in. So, I mean, that pretty much means that you can fly the TARDIS like that.
Yeah.
Which there's a 10th Doctor episode. It's one of the Christmas episodes where someone, basically his companion, is kidnapped and they drive away. And so he literally pilots the TARDIS in a flying car chase through London, basically. And he's got the doors open so he can see where he's flying. He's got everything on a string to try to get closer, and it's the most ridiculous thing. So
now again, I wonder if the BBC special effects people did those spaceships, or again they were talking to the Fireball XL5 people.
Yeah.
Again, that all looked very, very similar to the stuff that was going on in the early '60s with Fireball.
Yeah. Let's see. We had the trial. It definitely the Dark Knight Rises. Death or exile. Well, we're not going to choose death, and it's like, okay, death by exile then. So yeah, that definitely is again another one of those. We have a lot of those trials actually in Doctor Who, where it's like, yes, you're on trial. Okay, well, you're guilty. Get out of here. So forced to take off.
That's very Alice in Wonderland, if I recall correctly. The Queen of Hearts proclaims everybody guilty and then says, now let's start the trial.
Yeah, so.
Of course, I haven't read that in 25 or 30 years, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, we had the explosion, which did take someone out. Ash sacrificing himself, which was interesting. And yeah, honestly, for a second, I honestly thought that the colonists had just died, and that was just going to be that. But it makes sense that they did get out of there, and that's what. What was his name? The guy with the mustache.
Caldwell.
No. The colonist with the mustache.
Don't remember.
I think it was David something. Oh. So. But he goes in, distracts the guard, and then presumably they all get out of there before takeoff. In that very wet, muddy fight that you're right, had to have been freezing. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I hope the British are just built a bit tougher for that sort of thing, because they've had that what was it last episode where wherever the hobo or something, he tripped and fell into the river in the winter, and it's like, oh, that's got to be terrible.
Yeah.
So,
well, again, yes, having lived there for a couple of years, a lot of the British that I met there have what we call a ruddy complexion. So they're very hardy people. If I had to live someplace else other than the United States, I would go back to England, because I had a lot of fun. I only lived there for 3 years, but I had a lot of fun living there. Probably what sparked my interest in history is being around all that stuff. I think I kind of had an interest in history before that, but actually living there, that was probably what made me go into history ultimately as a teacher. So thank you all.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, we had the offer by the Master to rule the universe together.
Join me and we can rule the universe.
Yeah. I do like how he does appeal to the Doctor. It's like, well, you could be a benevolent ruler, which is interesting. Which, yeah, they sort of use that again. There's a 12th Doctor episode where the Master comes back and creates this whole army of Cybermen, basically, and the Master gives this army to the Doctor and says, well, here, now you have this power. You can, do all these great things with this, But he refuses it because it's like, no, I can't do that. I can't have that kind of power, basically. So very similar here.
Well, what is that old saying? Power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, so I believe Lex Luthor said something about that in Batman v Superman. Terribly, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I guess that line was okay. It's just when that line is coming from Jesse Eisenberg, nobody cares really. So, but apologies to Jesse Eisenbergs everywhere. But
the Doctor says, that's not what that's not why I do this.
Yeah.
I want to see, I want to explore the universe. I don't want to rule it.
Yeah. Which,
that's too much work.
Yeah. I guess it's because the Master also mentions, the Time Lords have all this knowledge, but they don't do anything with it. Yeah. So I guess there's like a step, basically, of like, the Time Lords, they have all this knowledge, but they don't do anything. The Doctor has all this knowledge and does something when he gets involved, whenever it just sort of presents itself to him. The Master is doing something about it. He has all this knowledge. He is going to do something. It's just that he does the wrong thing. So it's just an interesting dynamic between all the Time Lords.
Yeah.
So,
we've only seen the three of them so far. No, because we've seen some of the people back on Gallifrey, and then the one bowler hat gentleman who came down to warn the Doctor that the Master was coming.
Yeah.
But you've got the Doctor, the Master, and the meddling monk. So
yeah.
3 completely different personalities.
Right, basically. And yeah, I feel like even the meddling monk is different enough from the Master. Even though, yes, they are both meddling and stuff. The monk, though, is just sort of meddling, whereas the Master is meddling so that he can take over or destroy. It's all beneficial to him.
Yeah.
So, and I know there are audio dramas where I think the monk comes back, because I don't know if he ever comes back in the show, but I know there's I think there's a couple of the audio dramas where the meddling monk does come back and he regenerates and everything. So
that was a fun character, though.
Yeah.
Because again, he's not really a villain. He's just a guy who says, "Look, Doctor, I understand what you mean about wanting to view the universe and to experience and have fun, but why not every now and then, just hit one of the dominoes and let's see what happens."
Yeah. He was basically the Doctor if he just sort of took what he does a step further, whereas the Master takes it like 100 steps further. Yeah. The meddling monk was just like one more step from what the Doctor does.
Yeah.
So, let's see. We had the self-destruct. Of course, I do love when the Master gets out his ray gun. He's had that ray gun for a while too. It's the same one he always has, and then it just disappears. Like, wow, okay, it's the advanced race. They were pretty advanced. They took away his gun.
Now they did say earlier though that they were telepathic. So the fact that they're telepathic that far advanced means they could also be telekinetic.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know if they snatched it away from him, took it, or simply disintegrated it in his hand. And notice he didn't really go like he just went.
Yeah.
Wasn't much of a reaction there. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but then they did destroy the weapon. The Doomsday weapon, and luckily the rest of the primitives got out of there, because I was thinking like, well, why haven't these guys used the self-destruct before if it was that bad? And also because they say like, it's like, well, all the radiation will be gone now, so you can grow crops, because radiation can just go away overnight apparently. It's like that, what was that one episode where they were like, well, yes, it takes 175 years for radiation to go away, and it's like, that's not how that works. But whatever, we'll just sort of... Maybe it was... I don't know.
My assumption is when they blew it up, it would all collapse in on the original source of the radiation, which is kind of the way we actually do it, is that, it has to be entombed in lead and concrete and sunk to the bottom of the ocean sort of thing. So perhaps the idea of blowing it all up like that meant that it would prevent the radiation from killing the crops around it now.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that.
we assume a lot of things on this show, though.
And again, the pyrotechnic department of BBC must have been going,
yeah,
must have blown up the side of a mountain. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing is that, you can get away with, like, blowing up a model or something like that, but we saw them running away from that cliffside, and then it explodes. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like, we kept saying originally, it's like, oh, well, when they cut the show's budget and keep us on Earth and stuff, it's like, well, it's really, I don't know if they really cut the budget or if they're just using it differently, So
repurposing it.
Yeah.
Because I suspect that was a quarry of some kind. Because we've seen a lot of stuff very much like that. And they simply go to the quarry people and said, listen, we need to do a detonation here. Is there something that you've got coming up that we might be able to use that? And they would say, well, yeah, we're going to be bringing down the side of this mountain. And they'll say, all right, well, just let us build a little place here to let us escape. We'll film them coming out. We'll cut. And then you let us, you go ahead and blast it and just let us film it. So
yeah. I also love the reaction shot they do where the Doctor and Joe are behind the rock and they duck down just as one rock hits the other, and it's like, yes, that's one of those where clearly they're filming it and stuff, and you just have the crewmen just reel back, and so they duck down before that rock, which is probably a foam rock of some sort. But still, they don't want to get hit by that.
But also the rolling of the rock by the primitive that knocked over the Jeep. Now, you notice we never actually saw it hit the Jeep.
Yeah.
So it comes rolling down, and again, it's probably foam rubber or something. But then they had a bunch of guys just off camera pushing the Jeep over, perfectly edited so that it looked like it was really smashed.
Yeah. Which, I mean, those Jeeps, those aren't standard issue to anyone, so they dress those up to make them look all, futuristic and alien-y. So yeah, I mean, the props department is working well. Yeah. And plus, just this whole, the inside of the colonist dome, like, okay, repurpose some stuff, 2 different levels. All right, they kind of got that on lockdown now, but overall, it's just a normal place. But then you get other stuff, like within the ship and stuff like that. Like, these sets are pretty decent, and even within the primitive city, like, that was... We haven't seen something like that since, I guess, maybe the Silurians or something. Yeah. So, which I guess they could repurpose some of those wall panels and stuff. So,
that made me think too. The Doctor was really angry that the Silurians' place got blown up, but he didn't seem to have any problem with the primitives blowing themselves up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it's their choice. The only thing though is that, because at first I was like, man, this guy's sacrificing his entire species to get rid of this weapon, but then it seems like he was just sacrificing himself, and then hopefully all the other primitives got out of there. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, though they may have lost their house, so maybe they have another city somewhere that's...
But it also would have been nice, again, just 2 or 3 seconds of showing, instead of just the Doctor and Joe and Caldwell and the Master getting out, to see, some of the lizard people, or even the little Brainiac guys coming out.
Yeah, so we saw them running in the hallway, but I suppose it's open if they got out or not. So, but yeah, you got anything else?
No, actually, I don't think so. I got nothing.
Well, then this will be a 7-minute shorter discussion.
Ooh.
While I was editing last episode, I didn't put in too much. It was shorter than what we normally do for the reactions. I was like, oh, okay, so maybe this will be a shorter video. And I go and look at the whole thing, and it's 1 hour and 3 minutes. I was like, dang it, we kept talking. So
he's explaining why it's not a shorter video, which makes it not a shorter video.
Yes, the longer we talk, the less my point is going to work. So, with all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around to any of those. There's a playlist for all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another playlist for all my modern Doctor Who reactions, which Series 13 is currently going on if you want to go check those out. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.